Today is the day, my dashers. The final level of the minimum input series is at hand. Let's put our fingers together and dash our way out of this series once and for all in spectacular fashion. I feel paralyzed. We begin Fingerdash approaching a single spike, followed by an elevated platform some distance away. By now, we're minimum experts and know an opportunity to save inputs when we see one. By beginning your jump just before the first spike, you gain just enough distance to land on the top left corner of this platform. Keep holding this input down until 2%. Continue on as normal, ensuring that you proceed with caution. At 21%, hold the dash orb late so that you dash directly into the teleportation portal. At 35%, ensure that you hold off this blue orb as late as possible. Even though it isn't shown on the main level, there is actually a J block placed on the very first block of this platform. Pertaining to the icon, J blocks cause the player's continuous input holding to no longer register, meaning that we can't continue jumping with the same input if we ever come into contact with this J block, since we cannot continuously jump. By holding off this blue orb late, we can evade this J block entirely and make it to the next blue orb without the need for an additional input. Now, we get introduced to the final game mode and its applications within this challenge, the spider. Unfortunately, the spider's optimization is equal to that of the ball, meaning that there is barely any way to save inputs through normal gameplay since an input greatly alters positioning. That means that we'll just have to continue this section as normal. In the robot section, there are actually a few points at which we can save inputs. At 62%, after you begin holding at the dash orb, you can actually hold it for a little longer than you might think. By releasing at the right time, you can actually skip the second dash orb and land directly on this block, narrowly evading the monster's rotating obstacles. At 67%, commit to a full jump at this point. By continuing to hold down as you bounce into the wave portal, you will be able to ascend slightly, and thus enter the wave corridors ahead much easier. At 78%, ensure that you continue holding when you begin to ascend as the mini-wave into the spider portal. By doing so, you can actually teleport up all within the same input instead of inputting again, just like the ball. At the end of the second mini-wave, ensure that you begin your descent as high up as possible. This will allow you to enter the UFO at the highest point. You'll then use another 5 inputs instead of the usual 6 to get to the last icon portal. At 93%, ensure that you begin holding off this platform at the latest possible point to ensure that you make it to this pillar. From there, it's smooth sailing to the end. We finish off Fingerdash, the final level in the entire series, with 109 inputs. It is now what I like to call Judgment Hour, as we can finally determine the number of inputs required to complete all of the main levels in Geometry Dash. Before we do so, however, there are some notable developments that have arisen in the past levels that I'd like to address first. In base after base, I'm unfortunately going to need to add that ambiguous input I talked about, as I simply could not figure out how to execute it consistently in a normal run. This brings its input total from 42 to 43. In xStep, there are 3 additional inputs that you can save that I missed in my video, all described here, with credits given where they are due. Read it if you so wish. There's not really any reason for me to go over them, as they are very simple input saves that anyone can master just by sight reading, so it's really not worth it for me to explain that any further. With all of those changes set in place, we are now ready to announce the grand input total. Cue the classic drum roll, please. Our final total for the minimum number of inputs required to complete all of the main levels in Geometry Dash is 1,705. Well, would you look at that? We were able to finish off this series with an input total that was almost 200 inputs below my most optimistic prediction, and I'm just truly astonished by it. Truth be told, the actual number of inputs doesn't really matter all that much, at least to me. What's really fascinating to reflect on is the journey that we've had together planning the routes and explaining them. which includes all of the insane maneuvers we had to execute to be able to reduce this number into what it is now as much as possible. This challenge undeniably and exponentially increased the difficulty of each level. However, this isn't in the way that most people would expect, since it requires even expert players to completely change up their playstyle from what they're used to. Each game mode presented a unique control set to us that deviated heavily from all of the core aspects of gameplay. We had to hold down as the icon a whole lot more to continuously jump, swoop up and down so much as the ship, spacing out our UFO timings, maximizing our space with the wave, preemptively holding, taking unconventional routes, and so much more. I'd like to give my utmost thank yous to everyone who helped out with this series, whether it be mapping routes, providing feedback, or even just playtesting levels. There are too many to mention, sadly, but trust me when I say that you know who you are. I really appreciate every single second of your time helping me contribute to the series. This series would not be of the quality that it is without any of you, or even possible at all for that matter. I would highly recommend trying out this challenge for yourself if you're looking for something refreshing to change up your playstyle, or to revisit the old levels from a brand new perspective. It's fun, challenging, frustrating at times, basically everything that we love about regular levels and demons. You can check out all of the IDs in the description to check out each level in the series. If by chance there is no ID present in a level, that means it's open to verification. In this case, you can let me know if you're interested in verifying any of these levels by DMing me on Twitter or Discord. In conclusion, I'd like to thank you, the viewer, for watching this video and series all the way through. I hope all of you tremendously enjoyed this experience as much as I enjoyed making it. I wish each and every one of you nothing but the best in the future. Stay safe, much love, and peace out.